Hello everybody, hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's Connor here. We're back discussing the Ipswich game. We're discussing Glenn Kamara apparently being agreed to come to Leeds United. The fee is agreed. Apparently Leeds are going to be just head on with that this week, which is great news. Leeds in desperate need for a central midfielder. I just wanted to touch on yesterday. A fantastic result, a really top result for Leeds United, scoring 4 goals at Portman Road. They conceded 1 goal all season. I know it's not been a massive season so far, but still they've been resilient. They've been very good when it comes to having a structure under McKenna, and they've barely lost at home in 2 years. And this is going to be one of the strongest sides in the division. Hence why I said that they were going to be in the top 3 of the championship come the end of it. Can we disrupt that? It'd be very, very nice. But they're a very well-drilled side, Ipswich, who are going in the right direction when it comes to ownership, management on the pitch, and accruing a real good set of players and attributing a lot of that to a very successful data model. So Ipswich are a club on the up, and I think it's fantastic to see that Leeds United were able to deal with that in a very, very nice way, deal with that in a way that was effective, with a front four who are absolutely delicious when it comes to combinations, and it's Premier League level. When you look at the Wolves setup, you look at the Everton front four of Dobbin, Branthwaite, Danjuma, James Garner, and you compare that to Rutter, Nonto, Sinistera and Perot, you think, which is the Premier League side here? You look at the next week, I've been told that apparently Leeds are looking at 5 players. That might be rubbish. It might not be rubbish, but that's what I've been told. I've been told that Leeds are very, very active, and presumably one of those players will be Glenn Kamara. It looks like Leeds are going to be signing him for £5 million. Silky, decent in the transition, good on the ball as well. Would I have liked Lewis O'Brien? Yeah, of course, and you guys know that from yesteryear, really. But I think the context needs to be applied with someone like Lewis O'Brien, that the money that Leeds would have to pay, which would be £10 million, when you can get a Kamara for £5 million, half the price. You look at the wage, which apparently is sky high at Nottingham Forest, and you've got to look at the evidence that not many clubs have gone in for Lewis O'Brien. Only DC United, obviously previously last season, on loan, and that's probably the reason why. Difficult to justify a wage when someone hasn't played championship football in a decent period of time. However, I do like his quality, I like his calibre, but you do feel like Glenn Kamara is now going to be that central midfielder who is going to aid Archie Gray. Thank goodness Archie Gray is going to have a few minutes out, and Kamara's been, how do I put it, at Rangers. It's difficult because with everything that's happened with Leeds United, you say someone who's not committed is someone who I don't want. It's someone who I'm not interested in, and that's understandable, of course. But he's definitely not been committed at Rangers. You've had a lot of Rangers fans who've said the same thing. He's been looking for an out for quite a while now, and I think naturally your performances are going to be impacted by that. And Glenn Kamara has definitely fallen short of a fair few performances in his last sort of like 18 months at Rangers. But overall, I think in terms of a signing, it's not who I would go for as a standalone central midfielder. It's not someone who I would go, yeah, that's what all my money's on. But I think championship level will be very good. I think he'll be very, very decent, and I'm happy with that acquisition. I think Archie and Ampadu have got a really good balance, but I think you've really got to take into consideration that Kamara can maybe do a partial job of Ampadu and most of the job of what Archie does, because I think Archie and Ampadu are different profiles, but I think they balance each other out really well. But I think you've got to take care of Archie. He's been playing magnificently. I mean, yesterday I thought he was brilliant again, but you got to take care of him. We've had lessons from Lewis Cook previously, and I think a young boy like him needs to be phased into a really tough promotion campaign like we're in right now. And that brings me on quite nicely to the promotion campaign. And is this something that Leeds should be looking at? Well, Ipswich are probably the most difficult task in the division as of yesterday. They were definitely the most difficult task in the division when it comes to their home record. Leeds have gone down there and scored 4. There will be no other team that goes down to Ipswich Town this season and scores 4 goals. It just won't happen. So keeping the blend of that front four is going to be imperative for Leeds United to gain ultimate success this year, because in the Championship, there's not as much ruthless aggression when it comes to finishing from the opposing side. But what there is, there are obviously more games and more chance of injuries and more chance of fatigue. So it's good keeping that forward line fresh. And I think maybe an addition of maybe a Paintsil, maybe addition of a Amiri is going to be interesting when you see the balance of that front four and how that's going to be affected by improvements in that area. But I think that front four as it stands is frightening. And that's without additions. And if they're looking to bring wingers in as well, and if they're looking to maybe bring a Cam in, It's serious talk, and I've always said, people seem to crucify me and say, "Oh, you changed your tune." I've never changed my tune. My tune has always been the exact same. Nothing really changes with me when it comes to opinions. You guys know that with Mark Rocker, Charlie Taylor, Lewis O'Brien. I do change my opinions, of course, but and that's football. You of course can change your opinion, but I've said multiple times that the reason I put Leeds in certain positions, like I said Leeds were going to get relegated last season in February. The reason behind that is because the club was being run like an absolute shit show, and the reason that people thought that we were going to stay up was hope. That's what it was. It was just hope, because everything that you were seeing on the pitch February, even toward February and obviously February onwards, was a downturn in what we'd seen massively from that post, from anything Bielsa. And I think you can see what's happening. The additions were needed then, of course they were. And, Jesse Marsh was still in charge, which I thought was a poison chalice. But we didn't know half of what was going on above as well. We knew that Victor Orta was a chancer and everything that he was doing was pretty much wrong. However, that's by the by, that's a previous ownership. But the point being is, I've always said that if Leeds are able to attract the right signings, the right profile, and invest in the squad properly, which in my lifetime they've always fell short with, if they're able to do that and do it with some real aggression like the 49ers have earmarked from the start of the window, Leeds are in contention with that top two. Of course they are. If they're able to keep a Nonto, a Sinistera, a Rutter, and obviously they're going to keep Perot, but if they're able to, have that as a front four, complemented by other attacking bodies, and he's able to keep all of those people happy, those players happy, and you forget Somerville's still there, that's going to be massive. Jamie Shackleton, I think, is now going to build into a rotation option in the Stuart Dallas mould. I feel you can never rely on Sam Byron for a full season. Said that from the start as well. You just can't, because he's injury prone at West Ham, Norwich, and that's how his career's gone. You saw it yesterday, an adductor problem. He's a rotation option. If you had to get two fully fledged fullbacks who are of that next level, Jed Spence, Charlie Taylor, in comparison to a Sam Byram and Luke Ayling, that's your level up. And there's such an importance when it comes to fullbacks. You can't, the front four will bail you out of a lot of things, but the front four will get you into the top six. The fullbacks and a midfielder get you into the top two. That's the difference. So it depends what Leeds' aims and objectives are. If they want to go on a run, that's one of the better teams that you'll play in the division yesterday. That for me, that's one of the top 3-4 teams in the division. Hence, I put them there at the start of the season, because I thought that momentum and consistency under McKenna, everything that's going well off the pitch for Ipswich, complemented, as I've just said, by everything on the pitch going well. And that real togetherness they seem to have down there, and a good playing philosophy. I thought they were decent, especially in that second half yesterday. Good passing sequences, good patterns of play. If they're able to keep that going, the sky's the limit for Ipswich. But Leeds United, we really are on an upward trajectory. If we can keep that front four, if we can add in the correct places, add to the depth, and you're almost setting yourself up for a decent Premier League side there. You want players who can transition into the Premier League. We're not going to run before we can walk, of course, but if you're able to do that, if you're able to really get those players in place who can stay at the club, fight for the club, and be involved in a promotion push, then it's only going to be good things for Leeds United. So is this going to be the turn you're hoping? So I said last week, if Leeds are able to get a win at Ipswich, it's going to give us the right momentum going into next week. And yeah, let's see if we can get some proper profile signed next week. And if we can get, as I've said so many times, if we can get all these players sorted in the right positions, Leeds are going to be onto a good thing. Guys, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know exactly what you think in the comment section below. Fascinated to hear your thoughts on this Sunday supplement. And we'll be back towards the back end of the week and throughout the week, really, with some more stuff. Stuff on the Patreon as of today, if you want to go over and check out some bonus content. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. And I'll see you in a bit. Cheers.